What is going on, everybody, and welcome to a special taped episode 85 of Bettin N Boozin here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Roscoe, along with my co-hosts, Noah Maher, Charlie Freeman, and hopefully a joining late Patrick Kunsel here to talk about the stakes outside of the late pick five for Belmont Stakes Saturday, basically Breeders' Cup in the summer. Welcome, and everyone. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you're new here and find yourself coming back on the regular, or find yourself coming back on the regular and you aren't subscribed, why not? You're already coming back anyway. Please go down below the video player, hit the subscribe button, and please hit the like button for us as well. It's the easiest and best way to help out our channel, because not only does it show us that you guys are enjoying the content, but it'll also push out this video into the YouTube algorithm to hopefully bring like-minded horse players like yourself to the HHH Racing Podcast. And for that, we thank you. bettinandboozin@gmail.com, guys. On the bottom of the screen right now is my email. Please email me with any questions, comments, or concerns. And we have a few things to get into tonight before we get into these four races. We're covering races 4 through 7 on Belmont Stakes Saturday. So as you have your PPs out, come and follow along with us and comment below the video player who you think is going to win these races. Also, we did it last night on Bettin N Boozin and the Picks and Ponies crossover show for Tuesday. If you guys want to get your hands or haven't got your hands on a better way of thinking by Matt Miller yet, I'm not sure what you're doing, but if you haven't got your hands on this yet, we are giving away a book for this show as well. And this is the race that's going to be covered for the book contest is going to be race number 6 for this episode. It is the Suburban Stakes. 8 horses. Ben Doog, the number 8, is your morning line favorite. Comment down below the video player if you want to get your hands on one of these books. That's a $50 value, and you get it for free. Comment down below the video player who's going to win the Suburban Stakes and what is the $2 win price that they're going to pay. If you, let's say, for example, if you pick the number 7 Croupier and no one else does, you obviously get the book. There's no need for a tiebreaker. But that $2 win mutual price will be the tiebreaker if there's multiple people that pick the winner. And it's not like Price is Right. David Barista brought it up last night live during the show. Not doing Price is Right rules. I don't want to see any 721s in the chat or in the comments below. Whoever's just closest to the win mutual price will win a copy of Matt Miller's book. Again, that's race number 6, the Suburban Stakes. Comment down below who you think is going to win and the win mutual price that they're going to pay for $2. And this one of these books could be yours, guys. Just like last night's episode, this episode of Bettin N Boozin is sponsored by the fantastic people over at Adelphi Racing Club, where they are more than just a syndicate. We are partners. The best thing about Adelphi Racing is their top class experience that they offer, and the second to their transparent communication always. I personally don't own any with Adelphi Racing yet, but Howard has gotten into many horses, including New York Stakes winner Funny How, a fantastic filly out there. And since their inception in 2020, they've won 18% of the time and been in the money half of their races, again, since 2020. So a fantastic winning syndicate. And not only that, but again, the experience is what it's all about. Howard was able to take a trip up to Saratoga this past last year to watch one of his horses race and actually get in the winner's circle, which is why we all love Adelphi, because not only is the experience great, but you're able to get into these high-level places of racing with, of course, your share in the horse, but they all start at efficient price points. And there's still 2-year-olds available to get involved with. If you want to get involved or get more info, please go to adelphiracing.com or email matt@adelphiracing.com. That's Matt Guterre, who's the founder and managing partner of Adelphi Racing. To get in touch with him, that's where you'll want to go. Either adelphiracing.com or email matt@adelphiracing.com. Like I mentioned, Saratoga with Howard. But if you guys remember, they have a horse named Panda Gate who ended up getting 3rd, I believe, in the UAE Derby. Partners of that horse had the opportunity to go overseas and have a top-class experience in Dubai. If you guys want to get the chance to get in on something like that, again, adelphiracing.com or email matt@adelphiracing.com. Thank you to Matt and the great people over at Adelphi Racing for sponsoring this episode of Bettin N Boozin. Guys, last couple things. It's the normal stuff we go through every time. Apple, we're still on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you're more of an audio listener or wherever you get your podcasts, but the ones we use mainly are Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Please go rate, review, and subscribe over there. And lastly, guys, is the power picks. Still going super strong. February of 2021 is when we started. 616 picks later, we're still well above the profit mark, $2.16 ROI since February of 2021. And you get those for only $4 a weekend. And coming up for Saturdays, obviously the Belmont Stakes, you're going to want to get in by the end of the day, Thursday, to be able to guarantee your spot for those the expanded edition of the Power Picks. Usually it's about 4 pages long with a ton of information. The Belmont Stakes one is going to be 9 to 10 pages information on every single race for Saturday, spot plays, price plays, pick 5 grids, early, late, the entire card grid, as well as every single co-host's top 3, including all the way for all stakes on Saturday from races 4 all the way through the Belmont Stakes, guys. If you are interested, you guys are not going to want to miss this one. Again, by end of day Thursday, you must subscribe to be able to guarantee your spot in getting those Belmont Power Picks. If you have not seen the video yet, Howard is going to Madrid and going to the UK and stuff like that. So his travel plans start on Friday, and he will send them out Friday night. So please get in before that. Basically, what I'm saying is if you get in Friday night or Saturday, there's no guarantee that you're going to get these picks with his travel schedule. Patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast is where you go for that. They bill at $15.99 a month, but comes out to $4 a weekend. You get 4 weekends of picks with that $15.99. And again, 2 tracks every single weekend, normally price plays, spot plays, grids, everything you need to be successful on any given weekend. We got you covered over here at the HHH Racing Podcast with the Power Picks. Again, patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. Link is also in the description below. Guys, let's get right into this. Let's not waste any more time here. Actually, sorry, one more thing. I apologize. If you want to see previous editions of those Power Picks before you buy them, or just want to learn more about us, HHH Racing Podcast is, of course, the place to do so. Now, let's start going into these races. And races 4 through 7, they're really nice. We have a 1 grade 3, 2 grade 2s, and a grade 1, I believe, to talk about here, headlined by the grade 1 Ogden Phipps Stakes. But I'm sure a lot of my co-hosts will agree with me. This early part of the sequence, has a chance to be a little chalky. There's some very big favorites in here, and you can try to look to beat them. Although, I tried to look at 2 of these horses to try and beat them. I just think they're really strong in these races. It starts again in race 4, which is the True North Stakes. I'll put it on the screen here for everyone, going 6.5 furlongs for 4-year-olds and up, $350,000 on the line, headed by the Churchill Downs winning stakes winning horse, number 5, Pilot, Christian Torres and Steve Asmussen. Train, second choice is the number 4, Accretive for Irad and Chad Brown, and 6-1 third choice, shared by 3 horses, the number 2, Rotney, the number 6, Gunnet, and the number 7, Baby Yoda. Guys, putting up our picks right now, and yeah, we're all going with the all of us on the screen are going with the number 5, Gun Pilot. However, Patrick is going with the number 4, Accretive on top, which I don't have anywhere. I have a few things why I don't necessarily like this horse, especially in this spot, but I'll continue to talk about that as we go through. Charlie, I'll let you start first. The number 5, Gun Pilot. Again, not too much to say about this one. 1-1 favorite on the morning line, and a great pick by Noah last time out in the Churchill Downs at 5-1. But you're definitely not getting anywhere near that 5-1 in this race.
Yeah, just like how when Noah keyed on this horse is a long shot, who I believe was somewhere around 10 or 12-1 on the morning line. It went all the way off at, like 5-6-1. Ended up proving why this horse was taking all that money late, as it was a very impressive effort, obviously, in that grade 1, in that fantastic weekend we got to go to for the Derby. To me, just kind of looks pretty overwhelming in this field over the rest of the horses. There's certainly some decent horses in the rest of this field, but I just think Gun Pilot, can benefit from being one of the younger horses at 4 compared to, at least for me, the older horses that I think are other contenders. I think this is an improving 4-year-old, which is, something we've talked about on the show in the past about, being sort of an angle that kind of is something to key in on for a horse. I think 6.5 is perfectly fine for this horse. I think we've kind of seen in the past that clearly, his best efforts are going 6 or like going in that 6 to 7 range rather than going, to a mile or further. And I think that Beyer, that 101 was well deserved. Certainly to me, looked like the best effort of his career. And, gets Torres aboard again with Asmussen. And I certainly think this one's the one to beat. I think the versatility is nice. And I really think Gun Pilot can, kind of sit anywhere. Whereas, opposed to some of these other horses, kind of have more of a, either send it or sit off the pace. So I think Gun Pilot is really tough here.
Yeah, Noah, and we talked about it. It says it favors front runners. Look at this, where it has Rodney, the number 2, way ahead of everyone else in this race. I'm not sure if Rodney's very fast out of the gate, and he might have the lead. I don't think he's going to be this far in front with Gunnett, the 6, and Baby Yoda, the 7. Realistically speaking, their only chance, I think, to win this race for either of the Gunnett actually has a chance to sit from off the pace, has done it before in these cold paces at Belmont last year. But, what's Baby Yoda going to do? Baby Yoda's only chance to win this race is to somehow get on the lead and stay there. And obviously none of us think so. We've all had this horse on our hate list for a long time, I think. So I just don't see it that easy for Rodney, albeit, though, I think he's got a pretty good chance to hang in the money, especially if he has that type of trip. But I think just if Gun Pilot sits, a little bit like 2 lengths back, I just think he's going to end up better than a lot of these horses.
Yeah, earlier, kind of to start the show, you mentioned trying to beat some favorites in spots like these. If something like that happens in terms of the pace, it's going to make it much more difficult for Gun Pilot.
Yep.
I don't really know if I see it that way, and frankly, I just don't really think anybody else in this field is really that good.
Yep.
Credit to Gun Pilot for kind of getting me on the board. It was a long weekend up until then. So he'll always have a special place in my heart. I'll go into Gunnett, who I think I think he's a little more versatile. I think, either he could be on the lead like he did last time, or you see back in the summer about this time last year, ran a really nice 97 off the pace, trying to close into slow pace too. So I think, this is normally a horse that would be a little bit against just being 8 and all. But it just kind of seems like something Linda's really good at. And she kind of proved it last time. So I think if he, sits right off the 2, I don't know if the 2 is necessarily as good as him.
Yep.
So, could maybe get the jump on Gun Pilot, but ultimately I think Gun Pilot's just the class in here.
I couldn't agree more with everything you just said. I have the 6 and 3rd. I think the versatility could play a big part in it. Like I mentioned, Baby Yoda to his outside is going to have to go, which I think might throw Gun Pilot's strategy a little bit. It's going to be a complete rider's race from that point. But I think if Gunnett sits off, I think he's got just as much of a chance as anyone else besides Gun Pilot in this race. But Gun Pilot's going to have to work if the pace scenario comes up that way. And guys, I'll mention about Accretive, and then you guys can Incredive, and you guys can jump on whatever whatever you want to mention after I keep talking. That last race, guys. Losing to Baby Yoda, I anytime that happens, I'm just not sure about this. Horse has been frankly horrible in the last 2 graded efforts. Was good last year at the end of Aqueduct, the Belmont at Aqueduct meet, 2nd in the Vosburg, 3rd in the 49er, and obviously lost the Vosburg to Cody's Wish. So that's not, but did end up going 46 flat to the half mile. Is not going to get that here. I think he's good sitting off the pace. I just don't know how good he actually is now anymore. He's turned 5 and he just hasn't been that good this year. So if he can't beat Baby Yoda last time, that doesn't give me confidence to the fact that he can beat horses like Gunnett or Gun Pilot in this race. Noah, Charlie, feel free to jump on that. I don't have her anywhere. I think if Rodney gets out that far, I think he'll be, Accretive might get up for 3rd like you guys have, but personally, I don't see him as a win threat.
Charlie, I'll take it. I wanted to like Accretive more. Just for some reason, normally, my handicapping, I'd like cutbacks. This is just one where I don't know if the cutback's really ideal for him. And especially with the pace that we just saw, I don't really, envision him getting up. you mentioned the last race. Probably should have gotten it done against Baby Yoda. I mean, Baby Yoda was 17 or 18 to 1.
Yep, correct.
In that spot. So I feel like if you're not going to get it done there, I just don't see him getting it done here. But hats off to Pat. Pat's got some balls.
Yeah, he does. And look, he's got the numbers far back to win this race. Like, I don't want to say like he's, a dog ass horse by any means. He used to, this 101 in the Amsterdam, just losing to Gunite. And then, in these early races last fall, winning that optional claimer after a little bit of a layoff, then coming back to run very well in both the Fosberg and 49ers, I mentioned, but hasn't come back to run that since. Almost seems like he's a little bit slower now that he's turned 5. He just doesn't have that quick pace that he used to have out of the gate. So that's the little concern for me, is that if he's going to be running with horses like Gun Pilot or Gun It, I'd much rather take the 2 or the 5 or the 6 over the 4 from that standpoint. And obviously, as I touched on, with the 2 having the pace scenario on paper, think he can hold on for a little bit of a bunch. But again, hats off to Pat. If he runs back to those races, can definitely win. But for me, he will beat me and won't be on my tickets. I'm going 5-2-6. Pat's going 4-5-2. Charlie's going 5-6-4. Noah's also going 5-6-4. Guys, let's go on to race number 5, and this is the Poker Stakes. And you want to talk about pretty good matchups, guys. This is what it's all about. Field of 8 here for the 1 mile on the inner turf course for $350,000. And you got the matchup, the young versus the old. Carl Spackler versus Casa Creed. Casa Creed is your ending up favorite on the morning line at 9-5. Carl Spackler 2-1. Talk of the Nation, your third choice, number 7 at 7-2. And very interestingly enough, guys, we're all going with Carl Spackler. I thought that was very interesting. The highest we have Casa Creed is 3rd. And for one of us that is really surprising is Pat. I really thought Patrick was going to have Casa Creed on top every single day of the week. And he ended up picking him 3rd. And look, he's probably the coolest horse on this entire card. I just love the way Casa Creed is at 8 years old, even at 7 last year, was still running bang up race after bang up race, came back in Maidan for his first start. Obviously a very hard place to win first time off a layoff. Belmont has a lot of faith still in this horse, puts right back at Saratoga where he loves. He's 4 for 6 on the lead. I'll put him on the screen now. I'll just cover him, then I'll let the guys go into Carl Spackler. Look, 100, 102, he's buyer topping at 7 years old. Again, like I said, he's a really awesome horse. I think the one thing that could hurt him a little bit is the pace scenario in this race. Has closed into 47s before against Annapolis, who's in the Kelso, who's obviously a very good horse. But at some point, guys, there's going to be a time for the old guys to get beat at some point, masters of the game. And I think Carl Spackler is the one to do it. We all obviously think so. No, I'll go to you first. Last time against Talk of the Nation, Carl Spackler sat in Big Pack for 48. And for that Churchill Downs turf course that week, that was a very, very slow time, just a half mile, even though they don't have it coded in blue figs. And still ended up running down Talk of the Nation. And for a guy who almost picked Talk of the Nation on top in this race, I just think he's improving, and the sky's kind of the ceiling for this horse.
Yeah, I remember back all the way of February last year where he, was the talk. He was the buzz horse, how he was going to be, all that. And we've seen a little bit of it. I remember, he ran really well in the Hall of Fame, which was a race we covered like 3 times because it got rained out. That was pretty funny. And then in the last race you mentioned at Churchill, he had been off since September. I don't necessarily believe that he maybe wouldn't have been 100% that day. So, second off the layoff, I'm expecting big things here. And in terms of, the Casa Creed, Carl Spackler kind of debate, the little two-headed snake, I don't like Casa Creed in the spot. I just don't know what it is. So leaning Carl Spackler here with a couple others underneath that I think could be some decent prices. One of them, Talk of the Nation, that you mentioned and do like quite a bit.
Yeah, and Charlie, I'll let you go into him. I mean, last race was very good off the layoff. Beyer topped, not by far, because he did run a 97 at Kentucky Downs when he won that day. But other than that, that 98 is very good. Now a 4-year-old, second off the layoff, should continue to improve even more for Todd Pletcher.
Yeah, to be honest with you, for me, as you touched on, because I was actually watching that race with you on the car ride. It was a nice little start to give you some extra bankroll for the weekend. To me, I kind of thought Talk of the Nation had the perfect, kind of setup and chance. It was still a great effort, but kind of had like every chance to beat Carl Spackler. As you touched on, like they weren't crawling, but they weren't going that fast. He had everything he wanted. Carl Spackler didn't get much to work with and still got it done. Now, granted, it was only ahead. It's not like Talk of the Nation ran poorly. And I do think, like, kind of as you talked about Carl Spackler, they both were off pretty big layoffs. This was their first time out back, and they both had great efforts. I do think, Carl Spackler might have a little more potential, but I think Talk of the Nation still makes a ton of sense. And to be honest, like Noah was saying, I've been someone who's gotten beaten by Costa Creed too many times to count. So it's one I'm certainly scared to bet against. I was one of those people who, for the pool party, I had Annapolis, saw Costa Creed win. Then after that, happened to be at the OTB again in August. Costa Creed beat Annapolis again. And then, I didn't have the horse, but it was a horse I'd played a little underneath, actually, because I was sick of losing to Costa Creed in that Master of the Season win at the Breeders' Cup when we were there. But my main concern with Costa Creed, aside from just obviously, the age, is I just don't entirely – I was talking to Noah about this before we went live. I don't really understand the angle of going for 6 furlongs when this horse has been kind of, showing that, a mile is the distance that Costa Creed performs his best, had 3 straight 100+ figure efforts and didn't really show any sort of signs that there was a problem. Tried the 6 furlongs and, I watched the replay and it wasn't great. And I just think you have 2 horses that are younger, that are improving versus a horse that has been unbelievable. Look, maybe Costa Creed's a horse that's just unbelievable until, the horse is damn 12 years old. But I just feel like this might be the time to beat Costa Creed.
There's one thing that I will say about that. I just think as he continues to get older, he's not as fast out of the gate at 6 furlongs. You got to remember, I mean, this horse won back-to-back Jipers for sure. Maybe 3. I know back-to-back for sure at 6 furlongs at Belmont. So this horse has had it in him. I just think as he continues to age, 6 furlongs is not his distance anymore. I think he's continually and relished that mile at Saratoga, especially last year. So Costa Creed, of course, if you like Costa Creed, like, he makes all the sense in the world. I just think if with the improvement that Carl Spackler has continued to show and second off the layoff for Chad Brown in his 4-year-old year, I think he can put together a very big one. And I don't remember if I showed the time for him, but I'll show it now. You can see the one actually for Appleby, Mysterious Night, who we don't have anywhere, actually has a jump on Talk of the Nation. I think they'll be more like Talk of the Nation, like half length off, pressing the pace. And Carl Spackler and Costa Creed's actually in front. I think they're both going to be running together, and it's going to be a fantastic race between the two of them. Talk of the Nation is going to get the jump. I'm just not sure he's good enough. Charlie, you mentioned a great point that he had every chance to beat Carl Spackler last time and just didn't end up doing it. I kind of see that same thing here. I see it actually could be a pretty close finish in this race, but I do think Carl Spackler edges out Costa Creed in this race. But again, all I'm hoping is a racing fan, this is a fantastic race no matter which way, or a fantastic matchup no matter which way you look. And it's going to be, I think they're going to run 1-2 most likely down the edge of the stretch if they can continue to gain on Talk of the Nation. Just a matter of which one do you like more. They'll both be about the same price. They'll both be like 8-5, 7-5, 8-5, 8-5, somewhere around that. You just got to pick one. And if you believe that, pick one and move on. It's the best way from a betting standpoint and basically a fan matchup standpoint. The last horse I'll mention is the number 1, Mysterious Night. Buick's coming over for this week. I feel like I have to mention this horse, otherwise I'll get, thrown out in the streets by our viewers. Ran really well in Maidan early. Didn't run that well last time, but was wide. Kind of got a bad trip in that race. Buick just wrapped him up. He's coming over here came over here for the Hall of Fame last year and was very, very fast out of the gate. So I'm expecting him to be fast again, which will actually work well, I think, for Talk of the Nation to sit right off of him. See, time for him is a 1:35 on this horse early. So this horse is extremely fast up front. I just think a mile might be a little bit too far for this horse, although did win at Woodbine, but didn't really beat that much in that race. That was all the way back in 2022 as well as a 2-year-old. So, and that was the summer, of course. So yeah, it's a 2-year-old. Now 4 years old now. I just think with the pace setup, he's going to have Talk of the Nation breathing down his neck. Could hang on for a price. You're definitely not getting 10-1, most likely on an Appleby horse. He'll be somewhere mid singles would be my guess, 4th choice. But I just don't envision a race for him where he's able to get loose and win rather than having to go fast up front to try and stay in front of a horse like Talk of the Nation and with 2 monsters running behind him in Casa Creed and Carl Spackler. Personally, I don't see him staying on for the win per se, but definitely could be one to throw in underneath. Patrick obviously thinks so, has him in second. Guys, let's continue to move here. Let's go to race number 6. Or no, you want to say something?
Yeah, let me talk about Kubrick or Kubrick.
Okay.
I don't know how you pronounce it. That's not my thing.
I think it's Kubrick, but yeah, you're good.
Yeah, but I think this horse is really interesting. In the debut in the States, won really nicely. Maybe it wasn't the greatest race in the world, and it was at Tampa. But Chad thought, highly enough to throw this horse to Maker's Mark, which we know was a really nice race and seems to be every year. You could argue that the yielding kind of got him last time. I think it was more of the tactics, and I just don't know if he classed up in that race. Pratt was kind of surprisingly aggressive and kind of sent him to the lead when I thought he was going to be a little more mid-pack, maybe just because it was a small field. I do think Pratt will be, a little bit aggressive. I think he's going to have him situated really well right behind the Appleby and then the 7 Talk of the Nation. I think there's more to give. And, in races like this, we always say the other Chad. So, if you're looking for Chad, especially if the 1 gets played, you might even get, 4th or 5th choice on these connections. And I think definitely one to look here.
I think you will get 4th choice at least on this horse, or no, 5th choice on this horse. I really do think that Appleby will get bet down. You have Buick over, you have the races in Maidan, the Group 2s that this horse won. I think Kubrick you might end up being, even though it's Pratt and Brown, I think it's going to be a pretty decent race for the 4th choice odds between Kubrick and the 1. But again, you're completely right. That first race was very visually impressive, if I remember correctly, that Tampa Bay race. And they get, like you said, Chad had enough confidence to throw this horse in at Keeneland in the Maker's Mark Mile. Try different tactics. Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe sits mid-pack and gets a nice clean run into here, and he'll just have to show that he's better. I think underneath is definitely worth a look at 8-1 morning line. I'm going 3-7-2. Pat's going 3-1-2. Charlie's with me 3-7-2. Noah's going 3-6-7. Guys, let's move on to race number 6, which is the Suburban Stakes. And this is the one, again, remember, guys, this is the one where you have to comment the winner and the winning mutual price for $2 if you want a copy of A Better Way of Thinking by Matt Miller. It's a fantastic book. I'm getting through. I think I'm halfway through it. Fantastic betting advice, life advice, and just great stories all around. If you guys are a fan of the podcast, you obviously know who Matt Miller is, one of the best contest players in the world. Won the 2019 BCBC. I hope I didn't get that right. Otherwise, I'm going to get thrown in a locker for that one. But yeah, guys, just a fantastic. Wait, was it 2019 or 2021? Now I'm really. It's 2020. Hold on.
I think it was 21.
Yeah, now I'm getting so freaking thrown in the bin for this.
Host Phil. No. That's a bad host Phil, too.
I know.
Pray that he doesn't watch this. Don't pray on your downfall.
Please welcome Noah Maher as our new host.
Yeah, I was told he had like 8 screens now, so the man can do it. I think it is 21, and I really fucked that up.
Thanks for coming out, Kyle.
I think Brad Anderson won in 2019. That's why I can't believe I mixed that up. My bad, Matt. If you're listening, don't hang me by my feet and show me off to the town square. Anyway, let's move on, guys, to race number 7. Race 6, excuse me, the Suburban Stakes. Going a mile, that's a long race, 1.25 miles on the dirt, 350,000. Unfortunately, no next in this race. Was really hoping that he would show up here. He did not. It's a field of 8, headed by the morning line favorite, the number 8, Ben Doog, Jose Lascano, Bill Mott, the number 4, Charge It, longtime take a long-time horse that takes a lot of money for Johnny V and Todd Pletcher. Third choice is number 7, Crouppy, the quote-unquote other Pletcher for IRAD, with IRAD jumping aboard at 3-1. Guys, bringing up the picks right now, and we finally have some diversity. We have a little bit of a match race between the co-hosts on the screen. 2 people are going with the number 7, Crouppy, in this race, while Charlie and I are going with the morning line favorite, the number 8, Ben Doog. But since you don't have a guy to go with, Noah, you're going to go first. Yep, you get to go with number 7, Crouppy. Again, third choice on the morning line. Went to Dubai, didn't run very well, but comes back, I think, in a little bit more manageable spot here.
Yeah, I thought he got pretty good at the end of last year. He was closing in that Pegasus race. He was way too far back. But I thought he ran well, ran on. Pletcher thought enough of him to ship him to Dubai. And I think he shipped with the intention that the mile and the quarter wasn't going to be too short for him. Obviously, whatever it was, or too long, sorry. Whatever it was, didn't like it. Maybe it was the surface. Maybe he didn't ship well. But, comes back into a spot like this. I feel like he's sitting on a big effort, second time as a 4-year-old. I think he's really going to show what he's made of. And I just, wasn't a huge fan. Never really been a huge fan of Charge It. And then I just didn't really know what to do with Ben Doog. So at 2-1, I'm going to lean on Crouppy. And we might get third choice, which is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, and like I said, 3-1, that's a good price for Crouppy. You get IRAD and Pletcher. I think he'll end up being, Charge is going to take a lot of money too. So I don't know what the odds. They're all going to be pretty close, I think, by post time. So very interesting to see how that shakes out. Charlie, we're up next, number 8, Ben Doog, and I'll show the time for him here. Again, it's a long race. Doesn't have as much of a factor for me personally, but I am a pace handicap at the end of the day. And the 8 has the lead per time form, but will be Charge It, Ben Doog, most likely by the end of the first turn. So I'm going to go back. Charlie, what did you like most about the number 8, Ben Doog, the morning line favorite?
Yeah, this was kind of my main concern with the 7 is, again, I know this is a longer race, but, with the 2 and the 6 who it also showed would be kind of forward. You kind of saw a good skate who's the longest shot on the board, I believe, tried to keep up with Ben Doog and just simply couldn't. So that one, to me, is a non-factor. And then with the 2, Kuchar is going to be, or Kutcher, I don't know which fight Kuchar, is going to have to stretch out, and I don't think the horse is going to be able to be honest with you. I mean, this one lost a good skate. So because of that, I just think this 8 and 4 could kind of, get loose together. It wouldn't surprise me if the 2 of them are kind of hard to catch up and Crouppy has too much to do. With Ben Doog, obviously last time out, I think we covered one of the races this horse was in, and ended up obviously even money, which isn't the most fun to bet on, but showed why the horse was even money. Was basically just gone on the lead from the start. Wasn't the fastest fractions, but they weren't crawling either. Was eased up essentially in the stretch, not even ridden out. Was literally just almost to me looked like a paid workout, and was still working well again. To me, just makes the most sense as the horse to beat. I think the figures are the most consistent. And for me, when I was trying to narrow it down between, the 3 favorites, I didn't really see an effort with Crouppy that stood out to me personally. And I know you've touched on, I know I have the horse in second, but obviously Charge It has had some strong efforts in the past, but as of recent has not been in good form at all. So I just kind of keyed in on Ben Doog, and simply this horse has been consistent, seems to be one that's in good form. And I don't know, to me, it just seems like they were also pointing towards this spot.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I've personally never been that. I was a big fan of Charge It after he came, the Dwyer, and then he came back to win very well to start his 4-year-old year. Thought he could be a really good 4-year-old, and then showed it. I mean, he ran 99, 96, 102, and then won the Suburban last year at Belmont. But I mean, the 90s, the 95s. I mean, this is second off the layoff for Pletcher, of course, so it's worth a look. But losing to Messier and then to Zandon and the Woodward, did like no running at a mile and 1/8. He could just be way better longer. He's only had one race over a mile and 1/8, and it was that 106 in the Suburban last year. So I could be completely wrong on this horse, but I think Ben Doog is a horse that I would much rather have. This number could have been I mean, this number could have been what, 104, 105 from Ben Duke, realistically speaking. If he wasn't fully wrapped up, it would have been at least in the hundreds for sure. So I think Ben Duke's got a little bit more to offer. And if he's able to just sit off of a horse like Charge It, I think he's versatile in the way where he doesn't necessarily need the lead. You guys saw it in that 2 back at Aqueduct. He was able to close in that race. And actually, it turned out to be a very nice N1X. It's obviously a step up in competition, facing horses that have run against the good competition before. But I think with the improving 5-year-old that Ben Duke is, I think he's got a really, really good chance to take him all the way or just sit off and Charge It on Saturday. Also, Noah, this guy just doesn't golf, man. I don't get it. It's Kuchar. It's Matt Kuchar. Come on, man, Charlie. Kuchar. Unbelievable. Number 1 Signator. I mean, has a little bit of the numbers, has these 94s at a mile and an eighth, so maybe this horse does just want to go longer. But Seeking the Gold was a sprinter, and dirt routes versus dirt sprints, I mean, you can see the numbers for yourself, 26 versus 15% from the dam side, the Seeking the Gold dam side. So I don't know if he's better going longer. He's obviously showed that, but is going to need to class up in a field like this. Kuchar looks a little slow on paper running in these races, these mile and an eighth races with hot paces. I'm not sure that that's what he's going to get here, but does pick Pratt back up from that optional claiming race last time out. So, but is going to have to improve for sure. Master Parade's a horse I have never have any idea what to do with. The fact that he won that mile and a half race at Oaklawn is absolutely wild to me. I couldn't believe that horse. I laughed at it, to be honest with you, when that horse won. And the next time, you lose to Next by 11 1/4, but then only lost to Die Vernon as well by 2 1/4. Just not necessarily what I want to see from Masquerade going into this race. So he'll beat me. Charge It, I already touched on. Time for Trouble is going to have to improve as well, but has been better going longer. Won at a mile and 3/16 at Oaklawn. Granted, again, going to have to step back up into really good competition again. Good skate. Again, looks too slow, but has won going longer. Won at a mile and 3/16 at Aqueduct. And we already talked about the 7 and the 8. So lots of ways you can go underneath, I think, if you can throw out one of these horses for favoritism. But I think cut and dry, I think it's either Ben Duke on the lead or Krupe coming from mid-pack to take the win, at least in my eyes. I'm going 8-7-4. Pat's going 7-8-5. Charlie's going 8-4-7. And Noah's going 7-8-4. You like that? See, the host I was actually forefront for once rather than being in the background usually. So that works for me. Guys, let's move on to the last race. And this is the Ogden Phipps, 1 1/8 miles on the dirt. I mean, look, guys, there's not too much to say here. It's a 6-horse field, which is a little bit disappointing, but headed by the head and shoulders above the best older filly and mare in the world, in the U.S. right now. The number 5, Idiomatic. Giroux Cox, 3-5 on the morning line. Second choice is the number 6, Raging Sea, coming off that win at Keeneland. And third choice is shared between the number 1, Randomize, and the number 3, Pretty Mischievous. Guys, I'll put up the picks right now. Wait a second, ladies.
She's going to run off the screen now.
Wait a second. Noah, my friend, going with the number 6, Raging Sea. And look, man, I'm not going to clown you. I'm not going to do it because if I clown you, then she won't win. But you're betting out against a 6-race win streak. Horse that's 10 for 13, but Raging Sea showed a side of her that we really hadn't seen, and that was first race into her 4-year-old year.
First of all, I'm not betting this race. I just had to put in picks for political reasoning.
Save your ass.
I really like the way Raging Sea won last time. I know she's had a pretty good trip, but I think she's continuing to get better. I think there's other speed that will make Idiomatic work a little bit. I'm just worried that Idiomatic's just the same. And I just think Raging Sea has a chance to improve. I mean, they ran the same figure last time. I don't really know if you can kind of compare those two efforts. It pains me, but Raging Sea just really scares me. And I think she could sit a really nice trip. I'll probably be wrong, and my girl will probably just romp. And
I was going to say,
I would love that in my heart.
You've done this so many times in Song and Dance before, and now you're going basically cheating on this horse with another horse in this race. Charlie, for me right here, if I see Idiomatic in this spot on the backstretch and going around the first turn, I mean, what price would she'd be what 1-5 in that 1-9 from that spot on the track. If I have the thing with this race is the thing I struggled with is look, I always try to start beating the favorite, but a lot of the time when it comes down to it, especially in this race like this, she's on a 6-race win streak. She has the ability to sit off and rate, as we saw last time in the La Troyenne and on Oaks Day. She has the ability to be on the lead and win for fun. She's just fantastic. And if she's sitting off of a horse like Randomized, and if Raging Sea has to catch a horse like Idiomatic who sits a good trip, I just don't think you can beat Idiomatic in that way.
Yeah, I think if Idiomatic has the jump on, Raging Sea or any of these other contenders that we will talk about, I think it's honestly time to just load up the bus and say thanks for coming out. I mean, I respect Noah. I don't think, to be honest, he was the last one I would have guessed to put this one anywhere other than first, simply because, we've had so many conversations about how much he, likes this horse and, thinks she's ultra talented. But look, when I saw that effort in person, all I think about with Idiomatic is just resilience, and that this horse it feels like she can never be beat. Like I remember when we watched this horse, at Breeders' Cup weekend, and I remember I had this horse singled on one of my tickets, and I was like, you know what, it's not looking great for a horse who was $1.80, and it was a hot pace, which meant she might have to work a little harder, and it was neck and neck with Randomized. But she gutted it out and got it done. Then, like you said, there's been races where she's just gotten loose on the lead. And then we got to see this time something that, she's shown a little bit in the past, but I'd say not since, early 2023, and being able to say, it's fine. I don't need the lead. I'll happily just sit right behind, and then I'll go and make my move. I just think if she, like you said, if Randomized wants to, according to the time form, send a little harder than her, and she doesn't have to work too hard and go crazy fast, which, I mean, Florent Giroux's ridden her so many times, I think he'll know better than to let her, overdo it. I just think with her getting the jump on these other horses, I think she's probably the most likely winner in the sequence we covered. I think it's probably between her and Gun Pilot. I think she's more talented. I just think Gun Pilot's field is so weak that that's the only other argument you could kind of make. But I don't see any other way. I will say Pretty Mischievous, who I'll go into, Kyle, who I know is a horse you and I have kind of chased a lot. Admittedly, for me, it's more so been trying to chase and I guess last time out was more so in an underneath, as I played a pretty big exact of her under Idiomatic. And I know you've kind of chased more so. And, when you saw that price and we were standing next to each other, we both looked at each other and you were like, I know Idiomatic is all the goods, but there's no way I'm not playing at those odds, which is understandable. I mean, she's a very talented horse in her own right. I think she just needed one, to be honest. Now, I'm not saying I think after this she'll be ready to then win, but I think second time out, she has arguably, the most room to step forward between her and Raging Sea. And then, going into Raging Sea, I'll let you talk more about Pretty Mischievous. I just want to say one quick thing on Raging Sea. I do agree with Noah. I think getting to see that new side of her was crucial, and she could be talented. I just think this is a big step up in competition, and she's not ready for Idiomatic, and maybe not even ready for Pretty Mischievous.
And people in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, and I think, wasn't Raging Sea the one to break the 2022 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies curse of no one, it was 0 for 50 something. I think
you're right, yeah.
And she won that N1X at Keeneland. So because Wonder Will never won, Leave No Trace never won again. Yeah, it was 0 for 50 something in starts until Raging Sea won that race. But look, that 95 first off the layoff is definitely an eye opener. But for me, she's gonna have to beat me. Charlie is right. Look, I've chased this horse many times. That as that story was told from Charlie was exactly what came out of my mouth. I was like, at 4-1, I just couldn't fathom, because there was pace pressure that Idiomatic I thought was going to take in that race. Ended up being non-consequential, of course, but and that was first off the layoff for Idiomatic. I was like, well, if there's any time I'm going to beat her, it's going to be in this race. If Pretty Mischievous is going to sit right off, I hope she's ready. And unfortunately, I think she did just need that race. I agree with Charlie. I'm not sure that she's good enough to beat a horse like Idiomatic, but to get underneath, I think she's gotten more of a chance as anyone. Second off the layoff, has also been working as well as a Brandon Walsh horse can work in the mornings. I think she's got every single chance to get second in a race like this at a decent price of 5 or 6 to 1. But again, it's completely idiomatic's race to lose, guys. I mean, that's just the way it is. Only one of us has the balls to go against her, and it's basically her human husband in Noah Maher. I mean, you're fucking horse wife, brother.
Just finish it up. We don't need that.
Too late. I already did it. So good luck. I'm going 5-3-6. Pat's going 5-6-2. Charlie's going 5-3-6 with me, and Noah's going 6-5-4. Guys, if you guys want our best bets for this sequence, since we're only covering the undercard stakes, we have every single race covered on Saturday on the Power Picks. So that's where we will leave our best bets for this sequence. Of course, you can also follow me at AP Roscoe K if you guys want. I'm going to post every single one of these sequences before each day, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So if you guys want my full top three for every single race this weekend, including my best bets for each day, at AP Roscoe K is where you can follow me. Same goes for these guys next to me, Noah and Charlie. They both have their X-ats in their name tag. But guys, let's move right into, we're going to go real quick, rapid fire Belmont Stakes. I would feel remiss if we covered a sequence on Belmont Stakes Day. And of course, if you guys want to hear full in-depth analysis of this late pick 5 for Saturday, Howard, Pete, and Paul are at 7 p.m. today, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's also, if you're watching this as a replay, it's also going to be on the channel as a replay. So go give them a watch for the late pick 5. But I feel remiss if we don't talk about at least a little bit. Noah, since you're next to me, I'll let you go first. Real quick, your top 3 and just a little bit of analysis of what you think your top 3 for the Belmont Stakes.
Top 3 are 9-10-2, Sierra Leone for obvious reasons. Mind Frame, I've got those two as the top 2 just because I think you've got the best horse from the Derby Trail and you got the best horse out of the horses that didn't run in the Derby or were on that trail. And then I've got Resilience in third, who I just think is really going to sit a really nice trip just off the lead and had some trouble in the Derby. So 9-10-2 for me.
Charlie?
Yeah, I guess our pre-conversation, he must have just heard what I said and decided to run with it. I'm also 9-10-2. Wish it could be a little more creative. I will give a little different insight at least so we can be a little more creative here. Again, I think Sierra Leone's the horse to beat. I think Sierra Leone should have won the Kentucky Derby, but we won't talk about those painful memories. Mind Frame, unlike Fierceness, is actually a Pletcher forwardly placed horse for Rapoli that I do actually believe in and I don't think is a fraud. So I really do think it's one of those two that'll win. I don't necessarily think that'll be the top 2. I feel like I'd be a lot more confident Sierra Leone coming in the top 2 than Mind Frame, but I agree with Noah's angle. I will touch on a few other horses real quick. Resilience, I agree with Noah, ran really well in the Derby. I think, as we touched on leading into the Derby, was one that I know for sure Noah and I at least had some interest in. I think you might have as well, Kyle. It's an improving horse that Noah and I loved, 2 back at Aqueduct. I agree with Noah. Didn't run bad in the Derby, all things considered, despite not, getting the best trip, and I think could work out a nice one here. I don't like Seize the Gray here personally, but Noah and I kind of talked about this. I think that is one that could impact the race. I think Mystic Dan could work out a nice trip, but I don't like those odds. And the one hot take I'll give, I was telling Noah about, I might get ripped on in the comments after, but I think Dornoch could be a very interesting here. I think this is the speed of the speed in this race. I think this horse got killed in the Kentucky Derby, completely missed the break, and this horse needed to send. I think the effort 2 back was them just trying to try something different. I think if Dornoch gets on the lead, which I believe he will, and doesn't have to worry about getting potentially crushed on the rail, I don't think he'll win, but I think he could certainly be a bomb that could help you in your underneath if he can get loose enough to be able to hold on here. So that's my insight.
You're talking about fraud check, dude. I mean, that's the definition of it. I think Dornoch's going to be sandwiched between Mind Frame and Seize the Gray. And if he has to take back, I don't think he wants to be anywhere but the lead. So that's for me. And talking about, and the other fraud check I'll give you is, you and Noah had interest. I had Resilience in third in the Derby in my top 4, let alone you guys talking about having interest in the horse. I'm 9-2-10. I thought I was actually being a little cute with the Resilience pick in second. Obviously not. I still think our big man, of course, we all have the buttons for him. Sierra Leone is the best 3-year-old right now. He looks to get a setup in this race. The pace looks to be quick between Seize the Gray Dornoch, and Mindframe. Sure, it looks to be ensured that there's going to be a hot pace. Just a matter of can he get home. Howard, all of us actually have said this, that we don't think distance has ever been an issue for this horse. This is running at the Derby distance again at the 1.25 miles instead of the 1.5 miles. Don't even think the 1.5 miles would have been a problem for him. He's just super talented, has shown it time and time again. I just think he gets the best run out of all of them late and runs them down just as we saw even in the Derby, but just as we saw in the preps leading up to the Derby. Resilience, you guys already touched on. I think he sits a really nice trip. I think this is a little bit sneaky one for Belmont. 10-1 as well in the morning line. I think he's going to sit a stalking trip. Will get first run on a horse like Sierra Leone. I don't think he's as good as him to beat him, but definitely one to get the jump and run either second or third. And I put Mindframe in there. I just don't really, we all don't know how good Mindframe actually is. That maiden winner was obviously very good. First time around 2 turns at Churchill, absolutely stuffed me in a locker. Although Cornishman did run second, but man, did he got the easiest lead of easiest leads. He went 49 flat. Once I saw 24 and 3 up on the board, we were watching this actually from the roof of Churchill. Once I saw him run 24 and once I saw him clear, honestly, I was like, this race is over. There's no reason to watch this race. I might as well turn away and go back down to my seat at this point. But so Mindframe's kind of that untapped potential. We don't know what he truly is. He has stalked off the pace, which I think is going to benefit him in a spot like this. And I think if he does stalk, I think that's the key to victory, stalking off like Seize the Gray and Dornoch, both horses that might be able to fade at 1.25 miles going as fast as I see them going. So Mindframe is definitely interesting. You have to have him in there no matter what. I have him third. The other horse I think that a lot of people aren't talking about is Antiquarian, guys. I think he's going to set another really nice trip, just like Mindframe, at least or Resilience. I'm thinking won the Peter Pan that was very good for Howard and I, both having him on top and his plays of the day that day. I just think he's improving. He paired up Beyer Tops, the Matt Bernier angle. If he pairs up Beyer Tops, he looks to take a step forward here. If he runs that 100 Beyer or that high 90s, could definitely be good enough to run in the money here. So Antiquarian at 12-1 is definitely the longer shot in the race that I wouldn't look past either. But guys, that's going to wrap up episode 85 of Bettin N Boozin. Again, thank you guys all so much, and thank you to Adelphi Racing Club for sponsoring this episode. And again, 2 things real quick before we leave. If you want to get in the contest for the book, remember, comment down below the video player the race winner of the Suburban and the winning $2 win mutual price, and that will be the tiebreaker. And hopefully you will come out with a book in your hand. Good luck to all of you that participate. And also the power picks, guys. Again, you have to get in by the end of day Thursday to guarantee your spot for the Belmont Stakes power picks. It's double the length. It has all top 3s of all co-hosts, price plays, spot plays, pick 5 grids, early, late, the entire card. Everything you need to be successful this Belmont Stakes day is on the HHH Racing Podcast power picks, and it's up on the screen now. Patreon.com/HHH Racing Podcast. The link is also in the description box below. Again, by the end of day Thursday, you must get in on that. And if you want to see previous editions before you buy it, I would highly recommend you do that. HHHRacingPodcast.com is the place to find those. But guys, like I said, that's going to wrap up. Thank you guys all so much for watching this episode covering the undercard of Belmont Stakes Day. For my co-hosts, Noah Maher and Charlie Freeman, this has been your host, Kyle Roscoe, episode 85, covering races 4, 5, 6, and 7, the stakes races outside of the late pick 5 on Belmont Stakes Day. Now, however you play it, guys, crush those bets, win those photos, and stay safe, everyone, on Belmont Stakes weekend. And we'll see you in the next episode. Have a great night.